Hello friends, welcome back to another educative content. So today we'll be talking about asthma and yogic way of handling your problems with breathing. So we'll try to understand how exactly asthma affects you, what is happening when you are under asthma attack. And the reason why I've taken this topic right now is we are moving from winter season to the spring and slowly into the summer. Spring is a season where you have a lot of pollination, where you have a lot of pollen grains which is floating around many of the trees and plants. You are prone to have asthma. Not just that, even if you are in the polluted area, you can feel the same breathlessness. So because of this transition, I am talking about asthma today. And one of the major non-communicable diseases is asthma, which is seen more in children than in adults and is seen more in women than in men. So it is probably one of the trickiest disease structure because it affects more children. So we don't know much about the reason why it happens. But still, the reason one which comes up very interestingly is the theory of hygiene. When I say theory of hygiene, it means that you keep your surroundings clean, you keep your rooms, you keep your clothes and everything spick and span. Good for the child, but very bad for their immunity because their immunity are never seen in any dusty condition. So when you expose them to such a condition, such as outdoors, such as when they go to play, then the so-called trigger cells trigger the immune cells and then they end up having asthma. So make sure that you let the child play outside, let them be dirty, and also encourage them to clean the home. Because the more they clean the home, the more receptors, similar to that of vaccine, how vaccine cells are just creating a copy of the dead vaccination or the dead immune responses, and that is noted in the so-called immunity cells. So similarly, make sure that these dustings or these cleanliness creates an imprint of what dust is exactly in the memory cells of the immune cells that will not trigger or aggravate the factor. So apart from pollens, apart from dust, pollution is one big cause for your environmental cause of asthma. Along with that, genetics is also a much known potential. So if you are asthmatic, if your parents are asthmatic, don't let that transfer to your children. Ask them to play out. Even if you are a father or your mother who is more asthmatic, make sure that you don't let the same environment affect you. So you can change the environment, you can create an environment, you can create an ambience for the genetics to grow. So apart from that, obesity has a higher prevalence of asthma, along with other things like immune suppressed drugs and medicines can also lead to a state of asthmatic in near future. So what are the symptoms? Basically, symptoms are coughing, especially at night, especially when you are exhausted or exertion. This cough is not so thick like that of a cold, but it is very mild and this is very severe. So you have a very much, you are like to push out something from your chest. Along with that, you have shortness of breath. You don't take a longer breathing, so you take short breaths, and all the same time you breathe more through your mouth rather than your nose. And this has a lot of congestion. You feel that there is something congested in your chest. So these are the few symptoms which you come across when you are asthmatic in nature. So what exactly happens? As you can see, there is one thing which is seen as the bronchioles, or what we can say is the branches of where you can breathe in. The air passes through this channel and that is called as bronchioles. This gets constricted like this when it has lot of phlegm or lot of mucus in it. So when you have this kind of a airway path system, and the air moves without much of a restriction, when it gets thickened, that becomes a little bit of congested for the air to move. This is basically because of viral filler reaction. So when there is a lot of pollination, when there is a lot of dust, when there is a lot of pollution in your tract of your respiration, then that leads to something called as difficulty for those to be removed from the system. See, lungs is a very important channel for your cleansing the blood, at the same time cleansing the air. So anything which is foreign matter, body takes a response by producing mucus and it becomes tightened to make sure that there is nothing much of a problem. So this is the basic pathology about what exactly happens in your asthma. Along with that, there is something called as inflammation. So this inflammation happens because of your immunity thinking that there is something major which has not been seen over the last few months. So that is the reason why we say when the asthma attacks us, or when there is an asthmatic concentration happening in your system, your immunity is just multiplying over itself, thinking that there's something problem in the system, and then it just layers up every protective mechanism, because of which the breath becomes very short. There is a lot of congestion in your chest, and because of which there is a lot of feverish in nature, and you tend to feel lot of pain in your chest, and also that leads to coughing. So that is the reason why there is a lot of multi-dimensional factors when you think in terms of asthma. So what can lead to these kind of a hypersensitive immune response is basically the food, something which you are not accustomed to, pollens, medications, exercises, hormonal changes, physiological stresses, weather, and also obesity. So any of these things if you have, then your chances of hypersensitive immunity shows in your system by giving you some kind of a difficulty in breathing kind of a situation, or putting your body under this kind of a situation. So what is the treatment? Well, allopathists talk about bronchodilators. They use some kind of a steroids to make sure that your pathways are settled out, and they just push the excess amount of mucus just through the blood, and it just goes out of your urine or your feces, or it gets disintegrated in your body. And you have something called as anti-inflammatory medicines, like for all the hyperimmune reactions. You have medicines to calm them down. But in naturopathy, we see in a different way. We see the reason why you have this problem. We ask you to be more on energizing the system kind of a food, which is highly advised by many of the naturopaths. Something which is very much in raw in nature. We ask you to avoid milk, which is a mucus content, which increases the mucus production in your cells. At the same time, we ask you to be more on omega-3 fatty acids. So omega-3 fatty acids are one such kind of a solution, which is the best medicines for majority of the problems in your body. That acts very similar to that of an anti-inflammatory reactors in the body. So instead of taking medicines, if you can take it on naturally available these kind of food products, then probably you can see the reduction in the way you can take care of your health. Well, what to talk about yoga? It's everything about asthma. So to give you an understanding, B.K. Iyengar, the great yogi who actually practiced yoga, he was suffering from tuberculosis. So that is the reason why he started taking this up very seriously. Tuberculosis and asthma has a very similar way of doing it. Only thing is, the symptoms seems to be very similar, but tuberculosis, because it's an infection, it becomes more potent. So that is the reason why if person like B.K. Iyengar can take a stand on becoming a yogi because of his problem, probably you too can. So first and foremost is breathing techniques. There are a lot of breathing techniques which you can practice. At the same time, you can make sure that you do some kind of a relaxation for your muscles when you are under the stress of asthma, especially the muscles of your chest. What exactly happens on how exactly yoga helps is, first thing is you try to calm the nerves up. So you try to accept when there is some kind of a problem, you try to say it's okay, don't hyperventilate yourself, don't hyperreact to the situation. When that happens, then probably you must have heard those who are good in flute, or those who are good in some kind of a musical instrument which uses the lungs well, they don't have much of an asthmatic problem as such. So you can make sure that you start your flute sessions, start your saxophone sessions, or anything which uses the lungs to produce more energy to the volume or your sounding instruments. So this is one such of a result. Along with that, you have seen that because of regular practice in yoga, which is into asanas and pranayamas and all the other practices, because of the regular practice, there has been a successive reduction in your feeling of wakefulness in the night. Difficulty of breathing reduces as soon as you start practicing yoga for probably 1 or 2 months. So that shows the importance of becoming more disciplined with the self, becoming more disciplined with your activity, getting the discipline into your mind. So this is what you can do for yourself if you are practicing from asthma. And yes, this is what I would like to tell you. So coming up, we will be talking about ego defense mechanism in science. Is it just a psychology, or is it really happens in the body? And also the importance of circadian rhythm along with workplace health. So yes, so if you come across any asthmatics around you, near you, or people who are actually watching asthmatics, please take care of your health and make sure that you do yoga or you start yoga from now on, so that the season when it rides up, you don't generally go down because of the season. So make sure to like this video. If you have any doubts, you can write it down in the comment, or you can also drop me a personal mail at dradityahande@gmail.com. So keep subscribing for more such intriguing ideas, intriguing yogic methods. And till then, in the next video, thank you.